Hello folks and welcome to a brand new video of Fox Tracks. Today we're checking out the channel SCP Explains and they'll owl by owl video of When Day Breaks SCP-001. Now if any of you out there know, this was one of the proposed SCP-001s to hit the list. When day breaks, when the sun becomes the enemy. Let's hop in and see how these guys give us the tale of when it happens.
We've all thought about disasters. Imagined massive floods, fires, or a meteor suddenly crashing into Earth. But what happens when the destruction comes quietly and suddenly, with the dawning of a new day? Over the next 24 hours, the world as we know it will crumble, and something strange and terrible will rise to take its place. What will that look like? Who will try to rise to the occasion and help? And who will cower in the dark? What happens to the people around the world in the first 24 hours after day breaks? Let's find out.
Let's see.
Hour 1. It's 6 a.m. on a farm in Kansas, and the land is just beginning to wake up. The farmer and his wife and children are still sleeping, waiting for the cry of their rooster to tell them that it's time to start the day. The cows are grazing in the open field, letting out the occasional half-hearted moo, but they're still a bit too sleepy to give it their all. The pigs snort restlessly in the barn, feeling breakfast time approaching. The rooster, proud and stately, hops onto the roof of the chicken coop, surveying his domain. He tilts his head back and lets out a mighty crow. Cock-a-doodle. The sound catches in his throat as something strange begins to happen. His beak softens like wax dripping from a lit candle. It drops to the ground with a soft plop as his mighty wake-up call fades to a gurgle. There is something wrong this morning. Something truly, deeply wrong. If the rooster were capable of complex thought, he would be terrified. Instead, he is just melting, along with the hens, the cows, and the pigs, all dripping onto the grass as the faint light of morning changes them. Inside the farmhouse, the family begins to scream. Hour 2. An hour later in New York City, the city that never sleeps gets a rude awakening. No one can be sure when exactly the chaos broke out, but all of a sudden, people in their little apartments wake up to the sound of masses of other people calling out for help, of the thunderous footsteps of crowds tearing through the streets, and then of a strange gurgling sound that replaces the bedlam. A young woman throws open her blackout curtains to get a better look and finds herself melting along with
God bless it, we have an ad. We're back.
Town, a landlord knocks on his tenant's door, demanding some overdue rent, but there is no answer. Only the slop of something oozing across the floor inside. Security footage of Times Square catches an eerie sight. Masses of molten flesh spreading across the streets. The masses of tourists that were gathered there only hours before melted together into something else, bathed in the neon glow of the billboards and lights of the city. Hour 3. On the other side of the world, in Canberra, Australia, a group of college students is camping in the wilderness. While the United States is waking up to a horror show, they are sleeping soundly in their tents beneath the light of the moon. Well, except for one of them, who decided to take his sleeping bag outside and sleep under the stars. That would have been a lovely idea, except for the fact that all sunlight, including that which reflected off the moon, has become quite destructive to the human body.
Damn it, I didn't know that moonlight was bad as well.
His melted form sloshes around inside the sleeping bag, trying to regain some semblance of its original shape. Inside their tent, his friends are still themselves, shielded remarkably well from the light by the thick canvas. That is until one of them gets up to go to the bathroom and unzips the front of the tent. His mouth is already useless by the time he thinks to scream, and the moonlight floods inside and covers the group in a silvery glow. It doesn't take long for them to meet the same fate as their friend outside, melting together into one massive entity. They had hoped this camping trip would bring them closer together, and, well, it did.
Bold choice of words, my friend.
Meanwhile, a speleologist is deep in the bowels of a cave in Tianshan that she has been studying, completely unaware of the terrors of the surface. She's taking samples, dictating notes to her research assistant, and keeping an eye out for bats, when suddenly, she receives a communication from one of the members of her research team up above. The technology they use only allows for short text messages that can be transmitted through the layers of soil and rock all around. But this warning needs only a few words. Don't come up. Not safe. The words send a chill up her spine. What could possibly be happening that's more dangerous than being down here? She writes back, asking for clarification, but receives
no response.
none. Through the dark tunnels illuminated only by a few headlamps, she thinks she can hear the echo of a scream. Hour 5. Those that are still safe and have managed to hold on to their identities and forms have noticed yet another threat in addition to whatever the light is doing. All around the world, planes are dropping from the sky, their pilots and crews transformed into something incapable of flying an aircraft. Airplanes that were en route to their various destinations, thousands of them going in every direction imaginable, are now plummeting towards the ground, crashing into the ocean, or in some especially unlucky cases, landing on buildings that still have survivors inside. It's a truly brutal bit of irony to escape the sun's terrible rays and find some small sanctuary, only to have an airplane fall out of the sky and destroy it all. Hour 6. Over at the SCP Foundation, everyone is on high alert, trying to categorize what is happening and find a way to stop it. But how do you contain an anomaly when that anomaly is the sun itself? In the meantime, the O5 Council retreats to a specialized underground bunker constructed especially for this kind of dire scenario, outfitted with beds, reading materials, and enough supplies to keep them alive for several years, as long as no one hogs the snacks. As the rest of the Foundation staff scramble to find a solution before the rest of the Earth's population is reduced to goo, the anomalies contained throughout the various sites begin to take notice. SCP-999 oozes frantically around its site, hugging and nuzzling anyone it can get close to. It doesn't fully understand what is going on, but it can tell that everyone is quite upset and frightened by something, and it wants to help them feel better. Other anomalies have a less charitable approach. SCP-173 takes advantage of the chaos to escape containment, snapping a few necks on its way out just for fun. After all, everyone's eyes are otherwise occupied. Because it is not made from any organic material, it is immune to the effects of the sun, and makes its way outside to explore the pandemonium. Research staff pass by SCP-682's containment chamber can hear the giant beast chuckling to itself, a sickening, choking sound as it laughs at the fall of humanity. Finally, it sighs. One scientist peeking through the observation window swears that the hard-to-destroy reptile is smiling before one of his colleagues ushers him down the hall, away from the monster's celebration. SCP-507 appears in the hall with a pop, back from another one of his involuntary interdimensional voyages. "Whoa, where's the fire?" he asks, taking in the hysteria around him. Did something get out?" A bit of unease creeps into his voice. "No!" shouts a passing guard. "It's what's trying to get in." "God, I have the worst timing." 507 groans. Hour 7. Back in the realm of civilians, newscasters hop on to broadcast from studios devoid of natural light, unsure if there are any survivors left to hear their messages.
Come on, another ad. Okay, we're back, and I think we're good to go.
Television personality forces his usual bright smile, staring down the barrel of the camera with barely concealed tears in his eyes. He can't let his smile crack, can't let himself break down. If he lets himself cry,
I think in this situation you can just break.
He's scared he won't be able to stop. "Please, remain calm," he reads off the teleprompter, as a production assistant sobs into the shoulder of the camera operator. "Experts are working to determine what is going on. In the meantime, please follow these instructions to ensure your safety and that of your loved ones. Do not go outside unless you are covered in proper equipment to shield yourself from the sun or moon.
All skin.
Block all sources of natural light in your residence. Do not attempt to interact with those who have been affected by this disaster. Do not touch them. Do not let them into your home. Do not speak to them. Again, please remain calm. Help is on the way." He doesn't know if the words are true. He only knows that it's his responsibility to give the people hope, something familiar they can turn to when nothing makes sense. The camera switches off. He covers his face and lets the tears loose. Hour 8. In spite of the
only 8
pleas
hours
from
into this shit, and the
newscasters,
world's
people
fucked.
are very much panicking. How could they not? Everything's
Look at
descended
this.
into absolute mayhem, and it's only been 8 hours since it all began. Unfortunately, where there is panic, there's someone trying to make a quick buck off of their fellow man. Even more unfortunately, the internet is still up and running
great.
so far. And with survivors taking to social media to live tweet their experiences and post as much as they can on Instagram, Facebook, and anywhere else they can reach out for help, it is the perfect environment for scammers. A Twitter thread goes viral claiming that wrapping oneself in aluminum foil will protect against the effects of the light.
Oh, you gotta
Facebook
be shitting
posts
me.
circulate, hawking all sorts of natural remedies and super sunscreens, from essential oil blends to bacon grease. A fraudulent GoFundMe page pops up, claiming to belong to a climate scientist raising money for a ray gun that will reverse the damage done to the Earth's atmosphere, which he cites as the cause of the destruction. Hour 9.
That guy can
Not
get
all
the
the
hell out of
information
here.
circulating online is false, however. A video is posted on TikTok with the caption, "These mofos can talk," featuring video of a teenage boy cowering in a dark room as one of the formerly human flesh creatures moves around outside the door. After a moment or two of silence, a garbled voice calls out to him,
What does it say?
"Brian, come outside. Please come out into the sun. I miss you." The video's comments are filled with other users sharing similar experiences, saying, "It talked just like my boyfriend. It barked like a dog," or even, "It was singing my favorite Ariana Grande song." Similar
part I don't
videos pop up
understand.
in the wake of this first recording, urging survivors to ignore the voices, no matter who they seem like they belong to. Hour 10. While some people are using the
Okay, we're
internet to
almost
spread
halfway
helpful
done with this
information
day.
on the nature of the events outside, others have ruled out rational explanations entirely, claiming that this is divine punishment for the sins of mankind.
Oh, it ain't divine
or the
shit.
Matrix finally collapsing in on itself. Others deny that the horrible events are even happening at all. An infamously contrarian livestream personality logs on from his insulated basement, crowing to his viewers that none of this is actually happening. It's all a ploy to keep us complacent and under government control. Ask yourself, why don't they want us going outside? So we don't see what they're really up to. As commenters try desperately to change his mind, he doubles down. You're all just a bunch of sheeple, bah bah. He laughs. Look, I'll show you there's nothing to worry about. He
Oh my
carries
God,
his
he's going
laptop
outside.
upstairs with him and steps outside onto the sidewalk. In his computer screen, he can see the video feed of his own face beginning to droop and
how's that for
liquefy
ya?
before he can even feel it. He tries to run
Another
back
ad. Well, back from like that third ad.
inside,
Man, getting a
away
lot.
from the light. But it's too late. His legs are already giving out. The viewers can only watch as
And
their
he's
favorite
gone.
streamer dissolves in real time, until his now useless hands drop the laptop to the ground, where it breaks into pieces, and the stream goes dark. Hour 12. For those
Okay,
who
we're
have
halfway
survived
done
this
with this
long,
day now.
at the 12-hour mark, things are beginning to get tense. Actually, that would be an understatement. Tensions have been bubbling steadily for the past 12 hours, as people have melted into unrecognizable waxy monsters, exploded in plane crashes, and been traumatized to within an inch of their lives. Now those tensions are boiling over. Human beings
it's
in a
breaking
crisis
the
can be
dial.
a bit like crabs in a bucket, vicious and ready to tear each other to pieces if they perceive that they might be left behind. When there is a shortage of resources, this selfish fear and anger only gets worse. Hour 13. There might not be a lack of food or fresh water yet, but there is another resource that seems worth destroying each other for: darkness. In a world where light means death, the only safe place is in the dark. But there are a limited number of
shadows.
places that people can go. In rural areas, families retreat to storm cellars or the insides of empty grain silos. In cities, underground parking garages become hiding places, and there just isn't
thinking,
enough
though.
space there to go around. People erupt into physical fights in these parking complexes, punching and shoving each other, even attacking with broken bottles and other improvised weapons, all to stake their claim over this newfound territory.
Oh boy.
Even more contentious are warehouses, insulated hiding places filled with all the supplies that will soon start to dwindle: toilet paper, canned goods,
That man's
soap,
actually
and
got
bottled
a
water.
very good idea.
These things just might be worth killing for, and many are already prepared to do so. Hour 14. While the SCP Foundation is busy trying to maintain order and find a way to end this catastrophic event, other groups dedicated to the anomalous are equally busy. The Chaos Insurgency attempt to launch a sneak attack on Site-19 while its occupants are distracted. However, their defenses against the sun prove ineffective, and they are melted before they can so much as reach the site's entrance. Inside, the Foundation staff never even notice. They have far too much on their hands already. Other groups take a less offensive approach, prioritizing safety. Members of the Serpent's Hand escape to the Interdimensional Wanderer's Library along with their families, settling in for the long haul and preparing to make it their permanent home as the Earth burns. They didn't want it to end this way, but they are not going to stick around to be a part of it all. Hour 18.
Wow,
not all people are turning on each other, even as things appear dire. The best thing anyone can do in a horrible situation is to look for those willing to extend a helping hand. There will always be people trying to look out for others, to put out the fires, and airlift people out of the floodwaters. Though this disaster seems anything but natural, the instinct to help is still there for many. Doctors and nurses hole up in hospitals, blocking out the windows with spare pairs of scrubs and whatever else they can find to light-proof the building. There they treat the wounded that make it inside, wrapping broken bones and stitching up wounds as best they can. A few well-intentioned souls even attempt to treat those changed by the sun, those things that barely look human anymore, no matter how hard they try to arrange their soft bodies back into their former shape. It is too late for them, though. There's nothing to be done, and no medical school in the world could have prepared a doctor to heal this hurt. But what about the people who aren't all the way gone? The ones who started to change but got inside in time to slow or even stop the process. Hospital staff treat the melting like an infection, amputating molten limbs or attempting to clean and bandage them, unsure of what to do with a piece of human body that no longer behaves like flesh and bone. They're able to save a few people, but far more are already doomed by the time they make it inside. They disintegrate slowly but steadily, fading away on the operating table until their warbling voices are urging the doctors to follow them outside. It doesn't hurt, they promise, reaching out with fleshy tentacles that were once hands. It's hard to remember the Hippocratic oath when a monster is trying to pull you into its grasp. Hour 20. While some are trying to help the creatures created by the sun's wrath, others have been waiting for this moment since they saw their very first zombie movie. To them, this is an outbreak, plain and simple, and it's the perfect chance to suit up and play soldier. They cloak themselves in body armor and helmets with dark-tinted visors, and grab whatever weapons they can find. Grenades,
as long as our body is covered, it should be fine.
Anything is fair game at the end of the world. A former police officer and massive fan of zombie-themed first-person shooters takes to the streets, staring down an enormous mound of flesh made from dozens of people melding together. Ropey tentacles flailing and grasping for more bodies to add to its mass. He fires an array of bullets into the thing, but they are absorbed into its surface, swallowed up inside. He searches for weak points, for eyes, a heart, anything he can target, but he can't spot anything vulnerable. But he's not deterred. He'll try fire next. He lights a homemade Molotov cocktail and hurls it at the beast, waiting for it to ignite and listening for the sound of its painful cries. But nothing comes. The cocktail explodes and nearby debris catches on fire, but the ball of flesh doesn't react. It just continues to advance towards him, making its way down the street as if it has all the time in the world. There's only one option left, and it's the riskiest one of all. He pulls out a grenade and pulls the pin. Throwing it won't do. He needs to run up and thrust the grenade into the body of the monster to blow it up from the inside. He's going to have to be quick. He summons all the stamina from his high school track and field days and makes a mad sprint for the creature, holding the grenade out in front of him. Eyes on the prize, there is nothing but the mission now, the chance to be a hero. He is so singularly focused on his task that he doesn't notice a tentacle snaking along the ground toward him until it loops around his feet, flipping him over until he's upside down. The force of the movement knocks his helmet loose, and it falls to the ground. He moves to shield his face with his hands, but it's useless. The sunlight has already found him. He's already changing, becoming one with the very thing he promised to destroy. He stares up at the mass with reverence, just before his eyes drop out of his head, and reaches his arms out to welcome the embrace. By the time the grenade detonates, he can't bring himself to care about it. He can't care about anything except being part of the flesh.
Now
Hour
it's
22.
bigger and stronger.
If individuals have a tendency to blame each other in times of strife, then governments are even worse. Surviving leaders of various countries, shivering in their bunkers and
Russia and
tearing
Korea.
out their hair with stress,
Sorry,
begin to convince themselves that this must be some kind of act of biological warfare gone wrong. Nuclear testing, some kind of deadly gas, something. Surely ruination on this grand of a scale must be man-made. With no other recourse, they begin declaring war on each other. Everyone pointing a finger at someone else as no one is able to take responsibility. The threats, the denials, and the rage escalate until finally, the North Korean government makes a decision that would seem completely insane under any other circumstances. They attempt to nuke the sun. It's irrational and it's ineffective, of course, but it's the last gasp of a species hurtling towards extinction. One final attempt to bring it all to an end before it's all truly over. Hour 24. And as the dust clears, it becomes completely apparent the old world is dead, and a new world, for better or for much, much worse, is born. Nothing will ever be the same.
Hold on, folks. Sorry about that, folks. I know we were right at the end, but my dad called me, so let's finish this off real quick.
Again. Now go check out SCP-001 when daybreak.
Seriously, look at that. We were just a couple seconds behind. But you know what? There it is. That's the end of it. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video. So remember to support the original creators and all they do. And I'll see all of you folks next time. Peace out.